I've been fully sober from smoking weed for the first time in 15 years. I decided to quit 4 months ago in May, and that is the longest I've been without it since I was 15 years old. Green, dope, Mary Jane, grass, pot, weed, the sticky stuff, or simply put, cannabis. Whether you like to admit it or not, you probably know someone who did it or you did it yourself at least once. Whether because you're curious about it or most likely because a friend bought it into the function and you wanted to look cool in front of the other kids, so you took a hit. Maybe you just wanted an escape from the hardship of existence. Or maybe you're doing it right now while watching this video. Yup, I see you. In which case, drop a like in the video right now just in case you forgot. Well, my relationship with the green stuff was a little different though. I smoked for almost 15 years, which is literally half my life. And today I'm going to tell you the story of why I decided to quit 4 months ago after almost 15 years of daily use. But for that, you need to understand why I got into it in the first place, so let me tell you a story. Before we start this video, this is not to tell you what you should do. You are an adult, you take your own decisions, this is just to tell my story. I am not your dad. It was 2009, I was 15 years old and unlike most 15-year-olds, I needed to work. I worked since I was 14 years old. Being in a tough neighborhood and combining that with the fact that my parents used to fight all the time, I had the recipe for anxiety and stress from a very early age. Then a funny thing happened. One night I was trying to sleep and I couldn't put myself to sleep no matter how hard I tried. Even though my body was very tired from work and school, my mind was rushing miles per hour. And before you blame social media, I need to understand that in 2009 I didn't have a phone, like a proper phone. I did have access to the internet, but it was on a computer that I couldn't use at night without waking up my parents. It was around 4 AM when I finally passed out and sleep, only to wake up at 6 AM to go to school again. And I think it's needless to say that I slept at class that day. And in doing so, the teacher sent me to the school office and they sent me home. When I got home, I got straight into the computer to research what had happened to me, and that was my first introduction to insomnia. I didn't know at the time, but insomnia was going to affect me for a long time. I went to the doctors and naturally, they prescribed me with a few sleep medication. Which, spoiler alert, it didn't help. It truly didn't help. Sleep medication turns you into a zombie. It can get so foggy that you can't even put sentences together. It's pretty messed up and I don't understand why doctors prescribe it, especially for kids. This thing was starting to affect me at work, at school. I even talked to some of my friends, but none of them had experienced something like this. So I went back to the computer, went back to my research because I was dedicated to find something to help me sleep. Keep in mind that at this point I had been suffering with insomnia for about almost a year now, always trying different medications that the doctors prescribed me. But one thing kept popping up in my research. It was cannabis. The green, Mary Jane, pot, grass, dope, ganja, you name it. I was very skeptic and I'll tell you why. You see, the neighborhood I grew up in was very known for people selling drugs. At this point, people in my life, both friends and friends of friends, had died in drug wars with the police or other gangs. And right across the street from my house, people were selling drugs in the middle of the day like it was nothing. This was not something I wanted to get involved with, but my suffering was too much, I was very open-minded, so I decided to give it a try. I didn't want that bullshit they sold across the street, because if I was going to put something into my body, at least it needs to have some quality to it, because standards, right? Then in the beginning of 2010, I met a friend from a mutual friend at a function, and let me tell you, you would never guess this guy smoked weed, let alone that he sold it. In talking to him about my research and my struggles, he just looked at me and said, "Bro, don't worry, I got you. Take a hit of this and say goodbye to your insomnia." And like most irresponsible 15-year-olds out there, of course I took the hit. And I kept smoking the whole night without even noticing it. I told them, I don't know if this is working. They all laughed at me because I looked like this. When I got home, the most amazing thing had happened. I slept like a baby for the first time in a year. And so I started my 15-year-old long relationship with Mary Jane. I smoked almost on a daily basis. Every time I could get my hands on it, I would do it, but I never could do it at home though because of my parents. So I started doing it at school, at work, later in life, in college, at my corporate job, and in almost every other situation. Being a stoner was almost becoming my identity back then. I was always known as the guy who was always talking about weed. At first, I would smoke mostly at night to help me sleep, but as time went by, I started to doing it in the morning as well, the famous wake and bake, and as I mentioned, I started doing it at work as well. And then in 2022, I decided I was going to stop drinking due to some health problems that I discovered back then. It was honestly pretty easy even though I used to drink a lot, but I could never stop smoking though. I actually smoked a lot, especially after quit drinking. It was my escape, I used to say to myself. That was the beginning of my journey of quitting weed, because more and more I was asking myself, what is it like to be sober, like fully sober? It was starting to hit me that I wasn't fully sober since I was 15 years old. So in May of this year, 2024, I decided I was going to quit. I was smoking too much and I noticed that in some days I was craving to smoke just to cope with anxiety and everyday problems at work. But now that I'm older and I studied a little bit more and understand a little bit more about myself, I had more money and a somewhat stable life, I started to notice how weed was messed up for me. It made me slower, literally, clouded my decision at work and simply couldn't get anything done. I wasn't able to work out properly and I just felt lazy all the time. My days were basically going to my 9 to 5, coming back home and then smoking and playing video games the rest of the day because I was too tired to do anything else. So in May I decided to give myself a birthday present, a new life, a completely different life. A sober life, one that I almost didn't remember, to be honest. And so I did it. I smoked for the last time and then I got rid of the rest of the weed that I had in the house because it was actually a lot. And let me tell you, the first month without it was insane. In the first few days I started having vivid dreams again, which is apparently a common symptom amongst people who stop smoking. And then the cravings. Every day at night when I finished working, I was almost automatically going after weed, which I didn't have anymore. It kind of left a hole in my routine. I knew that I wanted to smoke, but I was also determined to not smoke anymore. So I had to push through these cravings and it slowly disappeared over time. Another funny thing that happened is that my friends stopped calling me to parties or functions or anything like that. I had felt that before when I stopped drinking, but this was a whole different level. And it truly puts things into perspective going forward. But now let me talk to you about everything that happened since I stopped smoking. And no, I'm not saying that quitting the green is going to solve all your problems and you're going to be successful all of a sudden. This is not what I'm saying. What I'm going to say is that it definitely plays a huge part in the energy levels you have throughout your day, your ability to get things done. So since quitting the green, I was able to finally put in the work on my brand. I got super productive. I was able to start this YouTube channel, my newsletter, I side business on X, and I started to run as well. I now do workouts, I meditate, I journal, I work on things that matter to me, and I'm able to pay attention to the world around me. I was slowly starting to notice that being sober is actually pretty cool. That was a huge hit for me, because for the past 15 years, I was always under the effects of either alcohol or meds or the green. And I can't remember a single day where I was fully sober over the past 15 years. And now it's been 5 months since I quit smoking, and I honestly wish that I did it sooner. The amount of energy I have in my days, the amount of things that I can get done, the vivid dreams, the clarity of mind, this is something I probably overlooked for half my life. And the truth is, I wasn't even aware that that was possible. Looking back on it, the green truly helped me with my sleep issues when I was a kid. And for that, in some weird way, I'm always going to be grateful for it. But now I'm very happy that I don't need it anymore. In fact, I don't need any substance right now. It's the first time that I'm truly free from any substance in 15 years. I don't need any meds, I don't need or miss alcohol, and I don't need the weed anymore. I can get high on other stuff right now, which I know it's going to sound cliche, but life is fucking beautiful. It's pretty cool when you're able to pay attention to everything around you, you know, like with a sober mind, with a clarity of mind that I didn't know was possible. It's just amazing. Walking in nature, watching a movie, doing the most mundane things now. Everything is clear, you know? The biggest thing for me is that I rediscovered my ability to create. Whether it's a video like this one, or a newsletter, or an Instagram post, anything creative, I'm able to create and I'm able to help people with my creations, with absolutely nothing clouding my mind and my decisions. It's like for the first time I'm finally realizing that I don't need anything other than just to be myself. And the reason I'm making this video right now is just to tell you that it is possible to find joy in life without using anything, without alcohol, without meds, without weed. But you can only do it if you have a clear mind. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you're into lifestyle design and creative work, consider subscribing to the channel and also leave your comment right here. I'm eager to know what are your thoughts on this topic, and there are 2 videos appearing on the screen right now that I think you will like. Thank you so very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye. Have a good day.